Auburn goes to Baylor. Waco, Texas, Sick'em Bears on Friday night. What a beautiful week of action we have. Thursday, Boise State at USF. Friday, Auburn at Baylor. And then Saturday's just stacked. Go look, if you haven't just looked at the entirety of those games, go do it. Okay. A lot of question marks around this game. Lots of them. And, obviously the biggest one is Jackson Arnold. What's Jackson Arnold going to be? Last year, Jackson Arnold threw under 65% completion in 5 games. He played in 10 games because he got benched. 5 of those games, he threw for under 65 completion percentage. That's got to go up. That just proves the bad decision making. He had a game where he was under 50. Horrible. He also took 34 sacks, and that's where I think the bad decision making really showed, because Oklahoma didn't have a great offensive line by any means. I don't even think it was very good, but 34 sacks in 10 games is on the quarterback. You can even say half of them, give half of them to the offensive line. If you're responsible for 16 sacks in 10 games, you got to look in the mirror, do some self-scouting, as I said at the start. Obviously, we touched on their receiver core. And Auburn, is a team we already touched on a little bit, so I can kind of just skim through this. Got an elite receiving core. Running back. Running back's an issue. We know this. It's good. It was always going to be a question mark. Damari Alston is going to be the starting running back this week. How's that going to go? 3 offensive linemen are back. Xavier Chaplin's transferring in from Virginia Tech. We know what we got with him. That's a stud. That's one of the best left tackles in college football. Very talented team. When you get recruiting classes like Auburn has and transfer portal classes like Auburn has, it's going to be a lot of talent. But can they come through? Caleb Harris, Jay Crawford, Sylvester Smith, those are all guys in the defensive backfield. Can those guys, a lot of them sophomores, both Caleb Harris and Jay Crawford are sophomores, Sylvester Smith is a redshirt sophomore. Can they step up and make plays? DeMarcus Reddick, he has to step up. That's the key to a lot of these backfilling teams, reloading teams, is can these guys step up? Defensive line's in a question. I put it on in my notes as a hodgepodge of talent that's unproven guys who have been around a while but are unexperienced. And then you got a stud on the defensive line in Keldrick Falk. We know what we got in him. I think he's going to be the best player on Auburn's roster this year. Defensively, 52nd against the pass last year. That needs to improve, but that's not bad. That really isn't that bad, I promise you. 27th against the rush. That's good. That needs to be upheld. Can this team do that again with all the new faces? That'll be a question mark for me this year. And going into this game, because they got to face against one of the best running backs in the Big 12, and Bryson Washington. That's an 1,000-yard guy, 12 touchdowns. Dude runs behind his pads. Sawyer Robertson is back at quarterback, and one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, probably a top 5 quarterback in the Big 12. 62.2% completion on the year, 3,071 yards, and a 28-8 touchdown to interception ratio. Also added 300 yards on the ground. That's a good season. He's back. Josh Cameron, one of the best receivers in the Big 12, 52 receptions, 754 yards, and 10 touchdowns last year. Stud. Ashton Hawkins is back at receiver, 45 receptions, 567 yards, and 5 touchdowns. And then Kobe Prentice transfers in from Bama. It's an unproven guy with a lot of talent. Offensive line only gave up 19 sacks last year. That you got 3 guys coming back. That's a good offensive line. Moving down to the tight end, they have one of the best tight ends in the Big 12. 30 receptions, 395 yards, 3 touchdowns last year. Also got a great defense. But just like Auburn, they need some guys to step up. And these are sound football players, but they're not the 4 and 5 stars. Carl Williams is a junior. He needs to take a step up. Tevin Williams is battle tested. He's waited his turn. He's a redshirt senior, former 3-star guy at corner, but he's battle tested but needs to take a step up. A lot of these twos got a lot of PT. Not a lot, but some good PT last year. That's why I say they're battle tested. Devin Bobbie is one of the best safeties in the Big 12. He's a senior. That's something you know is a sure commodity back there. DJ Coleman has waited his turn, is very, very battle tested. He's gotten his PT as a 2. He's a junior at safety. You want to see him really instill himself as one of the best duos with Devin Bobbie. Caden Jenkins, he's back at cornerback. Stud, but needs to take a step forward. He's a junior. Okay, let's get into my prediction and my key matchups in this game. Baylor was 72nd against the run. With Auburn's questions at the running game, who wins that battle? Who wins the unproven unknown? They were 94th against the pass. You had some guys leave that secondary. You got guys filling their shoes, stepping up. Can that be Jackson Arnold's, all right, get right? Is that his get right stat? Because he's got the receivers. I promise you he's got the receivers. We know they're receivers. Can that be his get right stat? Can he move around in the pocket, and can he deliver those receivers the football? Against Baylor's secondary, who is a very unproven commodity. Funny enough, I have Baylor's DBs versus Auburn's receivers, and also Auburn's DBs versus Baylor's receivers. Obviously, those are both matchups. You can pick out any matchup in the game you want to, but those both really stick out because both teams have very proven, very talented receiver cores, but their secondaries are not shaky, and I'm not going to say bad because they're just a question mark. They're a little unproven. Which unproven steps up and solidifies themselves as a known commodity? Baylor's defense in the box to be exact. Are they going to stack the box? What are they going to do? But whoever's in the box, what do they do against Auburn's O-line in returning production? Auburn gave up 27 sacks last year. That's not very good. That's below average, I would say. They got 3 guys coming back. Xavier Chaplin transfers in, like I mentioned before. Can that returning production doesn't necessarily mean wins or better. So can they take a step forward? Can Auburn rush the passer? Can Auburn rush the passer? Excuse me for the stumble. Falk needs to get back there. It's some unproven guys on the D line and in the box for Auburn. Can they get to Sawyer Robertson? Because he can move around. He can get out of the pocket. He can evade the pocket. What you saw Rocco Beck do in the second half, he can do better and actually run and get yards. Rocco Beck obviously can too, but Sawyer Robertson can do it better. Can Auburn's running game take pressure off of Jackson Arnold? Are we going to get a back to step up for Auburn? Because if Jackson Arnold has to sit back there and throw 45 passes, if there's 45 passing attempts for Jackson Arnold, I think Auburn loses this game. There has to be some relief because you can't be one-dimensional. Now, there's also the other hand on that where they could just be flinging around the yard because Keon Coleman and Nicholas Singleton is balling out. And they're cooking those unproven guys from Baylor because they've been waiting their turn for a reason because they haven't been ready. And they still aren't ready. Did Dave Aranda do enough to fix his defense? Obviously, I read the stats from last year. 72nd in run defense, 94th in pass defense. I believe in Dave Aranda. I like Dave Aranda a lot. I think there's a reason he hasn't lost his job yet. Great defensive-minded coach. He's waited his turn at Baylor to be the head coach, had some ups and downs, but I believe in him. I think they get it fixed. How does it stack up in week 1, though? That's an interesting thing to look at. And the last key to this game is, can Jackson Arnold limit the turnovers, limit the dumb mistakes, limit the sacks? Can he get rid of the ball instead of holding on to the ball for 30 years? However that goes, and even moving into this year, not just that game, that will be the story of Auburn football. Okay. Auburn is favored by 2.5 points at Baylor. The money line is minus 134 for Auburn, Baylor plus 112. The over-under is 57.5 points. My key impact play. Let me clarify something too. My impact players are who I think are like the best players on each side of the ball. So obviously, any quarterback's going to impact the game because he's the quarterback. But that's not necessarily what I'm looking for when I'm talking about impact players. So I thought I'd get that out of the way, a little clarification. Impact players on offense for Baylor are Sawyer Robinson at quarterback, Josh Cameron at receiver, and Bryson Washington at running back. Those are three guys who are studs and can carry that offense. For Auburn, I have Cam Coleman, stud wide receiver, Nicholas Singleton, stud wide receiver, and Xavier Chaplin transferred in from transferred in from Virginia Tech at left tackle. Look at the weapons that Jackson Arnold has. What's he going to do with them? On defense, my impact players for Baylor are Devin Brown at safety. Excuse me for the pause. Jackie Marshall on the edge. And Keaton Thomas at linebacker. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Let me go back. Sorry. I said Devin Brown. I meant Devin Bobby. Sorry for the mispronunciation. And see, that's something I'm going to grow with. I promise you I'm going to get better. It's going to take a little bit of time. With that still being said, that's a good core group. Those are guys who are experienced. Jackie Marshall's going to be one of the best edge rushers in the Big 12, possibly college football this year. Moving on to Auburn, I have Kendrick Falk, also going to be one of the best edge rushers in his respective conference in the SEC. Deontay Lawson at linebacker, and then I have Kalen Lee at corner. Kalen Lee's a guy who really needs to step up, but I think will. I think he's going to prove a lot, and I think he's going to do Auburn well in the secondary. With all that being said, my pick has changed in the past 10 or so minutes before the show. I flip-flopped on this game. If you would have asked me last night, I would have told you Auburn. And I know I have Auburn at 23 in my power ranking, but this game takes place in Waco. It's week 1, and I'm taking the Baylor Bears. Sick 'em Bears, and I think they win outright, not just against the spread. I think this game's going to be very back and forth. I think Auburn could get up, and it just flip, flip-flop. We'll see how it goes. I can see this game going many, many different ways. Obviously, I do think it's going to be back and forth. But if you told me Saturday or Friday night that Auburn won this game 30-10, I'd believe you. If you said Baylor won 30-10, I'd believe you. If you said Baylor won 18-14, I'd believe you. If you said Auburn won 18-14, I'd believe you. I think this game's margin of victory is very wide, sort of like the Texas-Ohio State game, which we're going to predict on the Friday show. The reason I ended up flipping my prediction is I think Baylor's experienced guys give them the edge in a game that goes blow for blow. Pause. But seriously, I think the experience up front and on the offensive side of the ball mainly really carries them in this game against a very unproven Auburn team. Like I said before, I think Auburn can win this game, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I got Baylor starting 1-0 and Auburn taking their first loss in week 1.